Tazarayach has defeated Jabari, Chris Harris, and Shakka Ahmose. This clip will be used for entertainment, educational, and critiquing purposes only. Now watch Yasha Ben Yishrael Dagger, the Dagger Squad.
If you can show me proof of anybody coming on a boat from West Africa to America, I will pay for your kids to go to college. Period. I'm telling.
What you say there, Garfield?
If you can show me proof of anybody coming on a boat from West Africa to America, I will pay for your kids to go to college. Period. I'm telling you right now, nobody that went on a ship ever call themselves a Hebrew Israelites. And that's why you know in the last 100 years this thing was developed. I love the fact that the brother, what's the brother name? The 70s, what's his name? Abba Bivens. I love the fact that he made up his own language. I love the fact that he made up the whole concept, the Kadash, whatever. I love that. But the mistake he made is he could have told our real history and put it in a book instead of trying to use the white man's history that they made up in the Bible. That's all I'm saying. I ain't got a problem with you Hebrew Israelites, but we don't need the Bibles for freedom. All we got to do is talk about our history in West Africa. That's all. How we struggled, how we fought.
Yeah, Israel, I'm about to disqualify this cat real fast. This cat put out a tape, 12 minutes. He said he going to pay for somebody to go to college if they can show when, if we were serving the God of the Bible, that he was with us.
All right. I'm disqualified, according to the brother, my good brother, Captain Tazarayach, because he said that I said in a 12-minute video by Saneter Studios that anybody that could provide proof that anybody that came over on ship said they were Hebrew Israelites, I will pay for their children to go to college. That's what I said. I never said anybody coming over here and praising Yah. That's not what I...
That is a lie. That is a lie, and I'm fixing to prove it. And you're not going to give me one penny. In fact, you're going to act as if though I've never said this to you before, and I'm going to do it again, and you're going to ignore it. That's what you're going to do.
I never said anybody praising Yah. I said, hold on a second. Now the brother made a reference, and I'm gonna show you something about scholarship, why I'm qualified. He said something about Yah, the people coming over on the boats, right? Did you know that the people that came over on the boats with the African names, 822 to be exact, 822 people had the name YAH, right? Did you know they left from one part of Africa to go to Freetown? They never came to America or to the West? He doesn't know that, but I'm telling him that because I have the information I could pull out right now. They never came to America, so we can't claim them as people here.
If you know anything about ISUPK, the little bit of information I gave him is plenty more. I just wanted to show why he was disqualified. He said that the God of our power never did anything for us when we was keeping the law, statutes, commandments.
Saneter Studios, I'm nobody. I'm a nobody. I'm nobody. I'm nobody. Listen. Let me tell y'all something right now. I said last week right here that anybody that can provide evidence that anybody who came on a ship to America was a Hebrew Israelite. That's what I said. I'm going to ask Gorilla Hebrew right now. Can you provide evidence right now that anybody that landed, that came over on a ship physically in the Western Hemisphere? I'm not talking from parts of Africa to Freetown where the people with the Yah went. All right? I'm not talking that. I'm talking about who came over here to the West to fulfill prophecy that you guys talk about. Can you provide evidence that anybody who came over here said and declared, I'm a Hebrew Israelite?
Number one, there are a plethora of scholastic works done by actual tribal West Africans, not African Americans who have been totally disconnected from West Africa. I'm talking about the actual brothers that are from the continent, who are PhD scholars, i.e. Dakwa, who authored what? The Africans that wrote the Bible. What about the book Revelation, where they document their migration from Israel to West Africa and talk about how, listen, yes,
Enough of that. He said yes. So the question, when he asks you these questions, can you produce evidence? That you should say yes and then produce that evidence.
Good point, brother, but you're still running. I asked for one. Over 12 million people came over on boats, brother, and you cannot tell me one. You're quoting books. I'm not asking for books, because we got a bunch of books out here. I could buy all of them right now. The issue is, none of you guys who claim to be Hebrew Israelite perpetrating that fraud on us, by the way, can tell us right now that show me one person out of the 12 million that came over on a ship, on a boat, and said they were Hebrew Israelites. Yo, look at Gorilla Face, yo.
I want y'all to take a real good look at this guy right here. That's the thumbnail right there. That's the thumbnail right there. Take a look at that. He said just show one. I'm going to show three, right? That came from Africa over onto the slave ships with their culture intact, right? Let's read this. Just to clarify, he is identified as a Rechabite, and the Rechabites are known to be the descendants of the ancient Midianites, sons of Abraham and Keturah. That man in the upper left-hand corner, that's old Billy Simmons, a noted scholar in Hebrew and Arabic from the Special Collections Library, College of Charleston, South Carolina. Now I want to read, I'm going to get through this article. This article is talking about how some Moors came over here from the United States. This is a newspaper article. You can get this article at the Collections Library, College of Charleston, South Carolina. Right? So we're going to skip down to the good part. I want to read this whole article for much as we have here. Okay, we'll start at the first the first readable full paragraph. It says the latter did not release them after 5 years as promised, and they remained under the control for 15 years. According to them, LaRoche treated them as slaves along with his black Africans. When they demanded that LaRoche free them, he refused, finally hearing that LaRoche intended to sell him with his slaves. They drew up a petition which they presented to the Royal Council of South Carolina. The council turned the petition over to the Attorney General and directed him to oblige Dowbridge or other persons to prove their right to the service of these individuals. The council journal contained nothing further of the case, but the Moors may have won their freedom. This is about some Moors that came over here from Algeria, and they were Moors. They spoke Arabic, and there were Hebrews and Israelites on that ship as well. And we're talking about people that came over here with their culture intact, practicing Hebrew from the western extremities of Africa. All right. It says another petition came before South Carolina authorities in 1790. Free Moors by the name of Francis, Daniel, Hammond, and Samuel, along with their wives Fatima, Flora, Sarah, and Clorinda, asked the South Carolina House of Representatives to free them as free whites. That's Michael E. Stevens and Christine M. Allen. Ed's Journal of the House of Representatives, 1789 to 1780. They stated that They stated that they had been fighting for the Imperior of Morocco against an African king they had been taken prisoners. A Captain Clark had the Moors delivered to him on the promise he would take them to England, where the ambassador from Morocco would purchase their freedom. Instead, Clark brought the Moors to South Carolina, where he sold them as slaves. Despite this, the Moors claimed that through the greatest industry they had purchased their freedom. Now they were petitioning the legislature to rule they were not subjects to the law that governed the blacks and slaves. A committee of the House of Representatives decided in their favor and sent the matter to the Senate. There is no indication that the General Assembly took action in 1790. In 1792, the legislature passed a law which stopped the importation of slaves in the state. One provision stated that Moors could not be bound for terms of years of service and could not be brought into South Carolina from other states in the Union, either by land or by sea. Perhaps the petition from the Moors in 1790 prompted them to include this stipulation. In 1786, Pete, now listen to this now. This is where it gets good, okay? Listen to this. They asked for one Israelite, one Jew, one black person coming in from the interiors of Western Africa on ships to the Americas as Israelites. He said that he would pay for any person who proved that it paid for their children to go to college. Okay. In 1792, the legislature passed the law which stopped the importation of slaves in the state. One provision stated that Moors could not be bound for terms of years or services and could not be brought into South Carolina from other states in the Union, either by land or by sea. Perhaps the petition from the Moors in 1790 prompted them to include the stipulation. In 1776, two men appeared in Charleston, dressed in the Moorish habit, and aroused a great deal of suspicion by their strange ways. Therefore, an officer of the law began to try to question them. The Moors he found did not speak English and represented the suspicious resented the suspicious lawman. According to an officer, the men became impertinent and vulgar. As a result, the lawman gave one of the fellows a little manual correction by way of reforming his manners. By this time, a mob had gathered, and the authorities feared a riot might break out. Finally, they determined that the two were of the Jewish nation. They then took the men to the house of a woman on East Bay Street who understood their language. She found that the two had sailed from Algeria to Virginia, where they had been arrested on suspicions of their Algerianness. They had then traveled overland to South Carolina. Obviously, the lady on East Bay Street spoke Arabic. Also, a petition of 1753 to the council was in Arabic. Therefore, at least a few people in Charleston were familiar with the language. The 1776 incident is mentioned in Charles Rasnikoff's The Jews of Charleston, A History of an American Jewish Community. Though he gives as his source Burnett A. Elzaz, The Jews of South Carolina, from the earliest time to the present, Elzaz does not mention this incident. The Arabic-speaking lady was probably Mrs. Starr Barzet, a Jew, this is a third Jew here, who was born in the Barbary States according to her obituary in 1820s. In 1820, she was born in 1699, which would have made her 120 years old of age at the time of her death. The writer of the Southern Patriot, January 14th, 1820, stated she had visited the four corners of the globe and was fluent in English, Spanish, Italian, French, Morisco, or Frank, which was spoken in the Barbary States, and Arabic. Indeed, she could speak, write, and translate Arabic and knew Hebrew as well. From the Barbary States, the family migrated to Spain, and from there she moved to England, where she resided for 30 or 40 years before coming to Charleston. Another Jew from Africa was Billy Simmons, a black slave. According to Simmons, who was owned by the editor of the Charleston Daily Courier, he was born in Madagascar, lived in the Barbary States, and arrived in South Carolina while quite young. He may in fact have arrived with relatives of Star Barrett, who could have converted him. He, however, insisted he belonged to a tribe of Israelites known as Rechabites, who are mentioned in Jeremiah 35. His Jewishness cannot be questioned because two of the Hazanim, or cantors, or congregation Beth Elohim in 1850s wrote about him and attested to his devotion. Dr. Jules Ekman reported in the Weekly Gleaner, January 16, 1857, on his exemplary devotion on Yom Kippur, and Maurice Mayer described Simmons in 1859 German magazine as the most observant of those who go to the synagogue. As a slave, Simmons earned his keep by delivering newspaper. His ragged clothes and top hat made him one of the best-known figures in the city. In the city. On one account in the Knickerbocker magazine of 1843, states that Billy the Jew was blackest, raggedest, shrewdest, quickest, richest, and honest slave in the whole state of South Carolina. Furthermore, he was an accomplished scholar in Hebrew and Arabic. When he died, his obituary appeared on the front page of the Daily Courier, December 12th, 1859. Now, they look at the top and they'll see that I got that from Lipstick Alley, right? But the reality is this. All you have to do is go to the collection libraries at the College of Charleston in Charleston, South Carolina. Or all you have to do is go to any of those books that we that I quoted, or any of those newspapers that we quoted. Okay? So enough with the games. Game is over. We are the children of Israel. And it is very racist for anyone to conceive that Africans could not be of Jewish origin.